For most civilizations, life begins with warmth, a family, a name, a future shaped slowly by choice. In Sparta, life began as an evaluation, a calculation, a question asked by the state. Before the child ever learned to cry, "Is this body worth keeping?" Sparta did not raise people, it manufactured weapons. And the process did not begin with swords or shields. It began far earlier, in the most private space humans know, the bedroom, the womb. The act of reproduction itself was stripped of emotion and turned into policy. Love was irrelevant. Desire was a weakness. What mattered was blood, bone, and obedience. Behind the romantic legends of red cloaks and heroic last stands lies a system so cold, so methodical, that it resembles modern dystopia more than ancient glory. Sparta's true battlefield was not Persia. It was human nature itself. Sparta fascinates us because it represents an extreme, a society that asked one terrifying question and answered it without hesitation. What happens if a state values strength above humanity? This is not a story about bravery in combat. It is a story about control, about what must be destroyed in people to make them unbreakable. To understand Sparta's warriors, you must understand how they were bred, chosen, broken, and rebuilt, not as sons or husbands, but as property of the state. Their cruelty did not erupt suddenly in war. It was cultivated patiently from the moment of conception. And once you see the full design, the legend of Spartan greatness begins to look less like heroism and more like a warning. Reproduction as state property in Sparta, sex was not intimacy, it was a duty. The state claimed ownership over the most basic human instinct. Marriage was not a private bond between the people, but a calculated pairing designed to produce strong offspring. Old magistrates examined young men and women the way farmers inspect livestock, judging height, muscle, posture, lineage, and physical symmetry. A man was valued for his endurance and ancestry, a woman for her strength and fertility. Romantic attraction meant nothing. Beauty mattered only as evidence of health. The body no longer belonged to the individual. It belonged to Sparta. Women were not regarded primarily as wives or mothers. They were regarded as strategic assets. From childhood, Spartan girls were trained physically, running, wrestling, throwing, not to prepare for war, but for childbirth. A strong womb was considered as valuable as a strong sword arm. Their worth was measured not by tenderness, but by production. And when reproduction failed to meet expectations, the system adapted brutally. If a warrior's wife could not conceive or produce weak children, the state permitted another man to intervene. A stronger warrior could be invited, even encouraged, to father a child with her. This was not considered adultery, it was considered patriotism. The woman's body became communal property in service of genetic improvement. Her husband's pride was not wounded, it was elevated. Producing a strong child for Sparta mattered more than fidelity, intimacy, or dignity. This was eugenics long before the word existed, not driven by hatred, but by ruthless practicality. Birth as judgment. When a Spartan child was born, celebration did not follow. Inspection did. The infant was taken from his mother and brought before a council of elders, men hardened by war, trained to see weakness as danger. The baby was examined coldly, spine, limbs, lungs, cry. Any sign of frailty could end a life that had barely begun. If the child was deemed strong, it was returned, not as a beloved son, but as future property of the state. If not, there was no appeal. The infant was carried to a desolate cliffside known as the apothete. There, exposed to the elements, it was left to die, not stabbed, not strangled, simply abandoned, as if nature itself had rejected the flawed product. To Spartan logic, this was not murder, it was efficiency. They believed mercy toward weakness endangered everyone. Surrounded by enemies and ruling over a massive enslaved population, Sparta could not afford compassion. Survival demanded perfection. From the very beginning, life in Sparta was conditional, the destruction of family passing. Inspection did not mean safety, it meant ownership. At age 7, every Spartan boy was taken from his family and placed into the agoge, the state-run system of indoctrination and training. Parents did not resist. Mothers did not weep publicly. Emotional attachment was treated as a threat to loyalty. From that moment, the child belonged entirely to the state. The agoge was not education, it was conditioning. Comfort was removed deliberately. Boys slept on beds of reeds they cut with their bare hands. They wore one rough tunic year-round. They were unearthed intentionally, a slow, controlled hunger designed to sharpen desperation. Stealing food was encouraged. Getting caught was punished savagely. The lesson was clear. Success justifies everything. Failure deserves pain. This was not cruelty for its own sake. It was preparation. A warrior who could not steal undetected would not survive behind enemy lines. A boy who cried under hunger would break under siege. Morality was redefined early. Right and wrong were replaced with effective and ineffective, training the mind to obey. Physical suffering was only the surface. The deeper work happened inside the mind. Spartan boys were taught to speak little. Words were weapons, not ornaments. Our word laconic comes from this culture. Brief, sharp speech enforced by punishment. Idle talk earned pain. Slow answers earned humiliation. Silence became protection. Older boys were given authority over younger ones, encouraged to dominate, test, and torment. This was not bullying, it was policy. The state engineered cruelty between children to eliminate softness early. Trust was dangerous. Vulnerability was punished. Rivalry was encouraged. The goal was not friendship, it was resilience. Under pressure, by the time a Spartan reached adolescence, his emotional range had been narrowed deliberately. Fear was suppressed. Compassion weakened. Individual identity dissolved into function. He did not ask why. He asked what is required.